Hey, what up, world? It's your man, Randy Briggs, and this is a very special edition of the 540 Radio Show. I'm actually sitting down with a friend from the neighborhood, right from Northwest Roanoke, Ms. Darlene Lewis. She is running for 8th District Delegate of Virginia, and it is my pleasure to introduce her. Darlene, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful, Randy. It is a pleasure being here and having an opportunity to talk to the people and to tell them why I'm running to be their delegate.
Okay.
And to tell them who I am, because most people, I'm always behind the scenes. So it's like,
so now you get to step out.
I get to step up and tell people who I am. But I am Darlene Lewis, and I am running to be that delegate seat. And, I get the question lots of times, Randy, is what makes you think you are qualified to run that seat or to sit in that seat? And so with that, I say, well, first of all, I'm a wife.
Okay.
And I'm a mother.
Okay.
And I'm an ordained minister. So that's a dual conversation. Yes, right there. But, we step a little further into it because my husband and I, we owned a small business called Just Moving. And in that,
know what it takes to start out from ground level and put in that work
to
make something out of nothing.
Right. So we started out with the two of us with an S10 pickup, Randy.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I remember those days. Oh my God. But the concept was we wanted to start a business. We knew what we wanted to do. And so we took what we had. And, lots of times people think that when you want to do something that you have to go out and you have to get a loan or you have to do a lot of different things.
You have to have everything
in place. Right. But we didn't. We took what we had and then we worked hard with that. We managed it, and then we went on to having a fleet of trucks. So we went from an S10 pickup to a fleet of trucks, and also we were no longer just the two of us. We hired people to actually go out and work for us.
That dedication led to growth. And out of that, what was one of the best lessons you learned from starting your own business and growing into fully functional?
It took hard work.
Okay.
I think that's the most thing that for me, it's because it took hard work. And sometimes we think that we can just start something, throw a little bit on it, and we think, wow, it's supposed to just boom, the magic is going to happen. But it does happen, but it happens after you put in what it takes.
After the blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes, something like that. There were days that we would work all day and all night. And we come in off of that move and empty the truck out and be ready to hop back on it the next morning to roll out again on the move. So,
but that is what it takes, that dedication.
Yeah.
And from that, and getting to a point where, did y'all get to a point where you felt satisfied, or did you still want to grow more, or did your heart sort of change to want to do other things?
We got to the point, Randy, that the Lord really led us to do something else. But what we were doing while we were moving, we were still doing at least anywhere from 1 to 2 moves a month where we did it because the people needed it. So we were meeting needs even when we were in the moving company. So if we would talk to people who were desperately in desperate situations with no money, then it was we would go out and still move them and help them. So we did that, and then our heart grew even more because I'd gone out one night with my son, and they did a big back to school night, and they call it Success in the Bag. And the kids were out there. It was 300 children out there that night.
God.
And we were all out there in the parking lot, and I was praying over these children. And I looked across the street, and there was this building. It was empty. And I knew at that point that we were supposed to go into that building, and we were supposed to take these kids. We were supposed to take the things that we were doing already, and we were to go into that building. And so we went
off 11th Street.
Yes, and we named it the Hope Center.
Oh man.
Yes.
Growing up in Northwest, I can say that, one thing Northwest needs is lots of hope.
Yes.
And hope-filled hearts.
Yes.
So when y'all opened the Hope Center, it was great to know that we had someone in the community who really was invested in to want to do something, especially for the children.
Yeah, but we went into that building. We had no money.
Okay.
We didn't have any money, and we didn't have any grants, and we did not have anything but the fact that we had managed to rake together the money that it took to pay the rent.
Okay.
We had the first month's rent.
Oh wow!
So we took that out of our pocket. So it was like we looked at what we could afford to give out of our own pockets, and we actually started the Hope Center with what we could come up with our own pockets.
Oh wow! So that right there lets me know that it's something genuinely done. It wasn't a charade or one. Just, to say that, hey, we do, and, you have to really be invested to come out of your own pocket and start something like the Hope Center, especially in Northwest Roanoke. It's not too many people that want to open business in Northwest.
But it was so needed, because soon people were coming by, and they had so many needs. Randy, I would sit in here some days, and that's all I did was listen to the people. Sometimes people just wanted to tell me their pain, and they just wanted somebody to listen. Sometimes I found myself, I was either at the hospital with them, or I was looking for clothes to take to them because their parent or their mom had passed away. I remember one young lady, she didn't have anything to wear. And so, we were in there trying to find clothes so that she felt comfortable enough that she would go to her own mom's funeral. There are times where, for me, the needs just went on, and they went on. They didn't have any food. They would come in there, and they were living in their cars. I had so many women that came through that actually lived in their car, and they would come in, and we would sit down and get a plan together as to how we were going to get them out of the car and what it would take for them to get out of the car. So it was just so many different situations that I felt myself doing. Sometimes we would just pray with them. And, whatever was needed, Randy, is what we did.
Okay.
I took them to look for a job. I took them and put them in my car to find a house or find a place to live. So it was what was needed is what we did.
Okay. Wow. And you have to be a strong person to be able to, I can only imagine, being there and throughout the day, just me living in the neighborhood, just friends and family living in the neighborhood, and listening to some of the struggles we're going through. I could only imagine some of the stories that you heard and some of the heart-wrenching stories.
Yes, it was painful. Some days it was painful. I remember sitting here and with the young boy, that the kids that didn't have any food, and we took them out to find their mom so she could get some food, and that day, Randy, I tell you, I cried. Every time I still think about it, even now, I feel teary-eyed because it was real to me.
Yeah.
It was real. And you know what my thoughts was at that moment was, we are losing mothers out there to addictions. We are losing fathers out there. We're losing family every day out there. And my heart was just broken. Yes. And that's what makes up the community.
Right.
So, you know, it was some days were just harder than others.
And so, going through that and, you know, being that close to what's going on in the community, I would imagine for you now stepping into politics and running for a seat in the House of Delegates, you seem to me like you would have a more genuine understanding of what a community truly needs, rather than someone on the outside looking in, you know, and seeing faces and at a glance, when you're actually there and hearing the stories and connecting with people who need help the most.
I really feel that, first of all, that the job of any person that's going into office is supposed to be about the people.
Okay.
And for me personally, I've had that experience.
Right.
You know, I know that when people come, I know how to listen to them.
Okay.
And when I sat there and I listened, I know what a lot of needs are.
Mm-hmm.
And so my job now is switching roles. It's not just sitting there and listening to those needs per se, but now I get to go to where I can help do something about those needs. So now I get to take those needs to a higher people, to higher places, and say, okay, these things are real, and the people really are feeling this pinch right here. So, you know, let's do what it takes. You know, and in this job, it's a responsibility to go in and sit down and work together to find out how we can fix problems. Okay. And most of the time, what we find ourselves happening is we're voting, and then we're so busy trying to keep our eye on trying to be like the rest of the you know, the group, mm-hmm. that we forget that the people elected us to go in to work mm-hmm. together, and then to come up with a common goal and something that fixes the problem. Okay, so I believe that I think of myself a lot of times is fixer. I spend a lot of time down at, you know, in places fixing.
Okay.
Listening and fixing. You know, getting in the trenches. Yes. Yes.
Yes, well, hold that thought, Darlene. This is Randy bringing y'all. I'm sitting here with Miss Darlene Lewis, and we'll be right back with you in just a minute.